Hey guys, Dad here. I wanted to take a moment and talk about something pretty serious, and that is bullying. It's becoming more and more of a problem recently, and we need to remember to be nice to each other. So if you ever need someone to talk to or need help, you can call our anti-bullying hotline here at Showboys. The number is... We will help you.
Yeah, well, we're recording now, so just not soon enough to catch Nick, verbally bullying me over StreamYard.
What?
One of
Never
these
happened.
days,
You're making all that up, man.
one of these days, the
Heard.
world will know and finally see the torment I go through.
If anything, it's the other way around.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
Passive aggressiveness never ends.
yes.
It's
Okay,
strong with that one.
let's record.
We are recording.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Showboys. My name is Mike, joined here with Pixel Nick and Dad. I almost called you Dad the Cap, which wouldn't be
That's
wrong,
funny because
I
I
guess.
thought you were going there.
I was literally going there. Yes, we're
Okay.
here. It's hard to not do the live stream stuff. Like everything that I was about to say was like things I would say if we were live streaming on a Thursday, but we're not. Hope you guys are enjoying the new release schedule. I also hope that I'm not freaking anyone out by being in a very dimly lit corner. I have
You're
family
locked outside your house.
Yeah, family in from out of town, and my podcast quote unquote studio is in the middle of the kitchen, so I didn't want to be that guy who just records podcasts while everyone's still awake and doing things. So I'm out
They
on the
should be in
porch.
bed.
But funny you say locked outside, because our sliding door for the porch is kind of like not functioning properly. So there's like a very high chance that I might actually be locked outside. I told Beck to keep her phone close by in case she needs to break me out. Well, there's two dads in the video here.
That's mine. What are you doing?
But nonetheless, we're here. We're going to talk about season 2 of Loki, which we're pretty excited about. But before we do that, we got to shout out our top tier patrons, Yusuf H and Tim B, and all of our other lovely patrons. Thank you guys for your support. Nick, you want to kind of fill people in on the few Patreon updates we did this week? With the new shift in our release schedule, we kind of added some new things to Patreon.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm so confused why StreamYard would think Dad's me and I'm Dad. You
have to select the 3 dots.
I know how to do it, but when you just closed your cam, you or me.
Well, yeah, because I had to select you. See, now when I stop it, I am me.
Why doesn't it know?
He is him.
He who remains.
Yeah.
At the end of time.
He who produces. He who edits.
Are you a producer? Is that how this works?
I don't know what I am anymore, honestly.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're one of those.
Very 2023 of you, Jeff.
Oh, it's true.
Patreon. What's going on with the Patreon?
Yeah. So, patron, we redid some of the no tiers are all the same, but we've redid the benefits within the tiers. I'm really trying to find the best place to see that stuff in Patreon because they keep changing everything about Patreon. But I found it. So tier 1, we boosted tier 1. Tier 1 got buffed. Basically, sign up for tier 1. You still get your shout out, just a general shout out. You guys are in the general shout out population, which is great. But you get access to our Discord Patreon channels.
That's right.
And just by signing up to any tier, you will get an invite to the Discord right away.
That's
So that'll
right.
be all automatic and handled.
Hooray,
So
integration.
yeah, so it's not just I guess not a total donation tier. It's donation tier with a handout.
Nick, your mic
Tier
became a little possessed there for a second.
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's okay. It's okay. Tier 2.
Shouted.
Your microphone was just so excited about these Patreon reworks that
okay.
it was just like
Tier 2.
Yeah.
Tier 2. Blah. You get early access to unedited episodes. Now that we are recording,
Unedited?
yeah,
Oh.
we just toss them up on Patreon and you can see them early.
That's
As
right.
early as our mediocre producer can get them up there. Maybe I can do that job because it requires no editing. I'll just toss them on Patreon for all our
Hey.
patrons because I care about them.
That's right. Nick cares.
Yeah, Nick cares. That's a new sub.
So our merch line too. Shirts coming soon. Nick cares.
Nick cares. Care for Nick. Nick cares.
That's amazing.
And of course, because you're tier 2, we'll let you suggest episode topics in the patron Discord channels.
There you go.
Wow.
Doesn't stop everybody, but we'll take you more seriously if you're tier 2 and up. And you have to be more serious if you're tier 2 and up anyways.
That's right.
You're special. You are special.
Spatial.
Tier 3. Everything I've already said, but you get that exclusive patron only episode per month,
right.
every month. And right now we're doing Tomb Raider. And then obviously when you do sign up, you get our backlog of every episode we've released on Patreon, which is quite a few now. I feel like it's toward 30.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A lot of
It's
episodes.
quite a bit. Yeah.
Wow.
And another special benefit of tier 3 is you get to be a member of the, I guess what we call a review club, but really what it is the option to, or the privilege to, suggest a topic and come on the show as a guest, and we'll talk about
Talk
that
about
topic.
it. Yeah, talk about it with us.
That'll be fun. And then tier 4, our highest tier. You always get that personal shout out and thank you at the top of each episode, as Mike did at the beginning of this one. After a 6-month sub, you get $25 worth of merch of your choice, and new / returned is the custom Showboys avatar, and this one is
That's right.
the avatars that we've recently previewed. You've seen it on the intro.
Yeah, go ahead, show them again, guys. I'll throw mine up here.
There we go.
There you go. Get a nice, cool little avatar. But yeah,
Love it.
excited about the reworking. It's funny. You said buffed. The other day I was thinking like of adding a channel in the Discord of the Showboys patch notes. Whenever we do change it, it's like the change log for everything we do at the podcast. I don't know. I might do it. But anyways, Patreon buffs would be heavily talked about in the most recent Showboys patch notes. So
Yes,
Buffs.
it's a good idea.
but yeah,
Nerds.
thanks for going over that, Nick. We're excited. Tomb Raider will be wrapping up here shortly, and then yeah, and
I should probably play that.
and we recently have kind of slated out our topic schedule for the rest of the year, and I'm actually very excited about all of the upcoming topics. I think we have a solid, exciting topic every week, and I'm pretty pumped. So be looking forward to that. But we're going to get into the episode now. We're going to be talking about Loki season 2. Could be the last season of Loki. That's my speculation.
For sure.
At least the last season of Tom Hiddleston's Loki. We can get into that, my thoughts on that, and of course your guys' thoughts on that. But general thoughts overall, Nick, how did you like season 2 of Loki?
Well, piggybacking off what you just said, they just turned from Star Wars like Mandalorian. They turned like, we need a Mandalorian like show because we've seen an interchangeable character that fits the same name forever, and there's infinite Lokis, so it's the Mando of the Marvel verse. I thought season 2 is really good. Super high level. I think I might. Well, I think I might have liked it more than season one. Um,
I think I
and
agree
it
with you.
and it just right off the bat reminded me. I was like, wow, I really do like this show, which is a nice breath of fresh air for a struggling Marvel MCU. Um,
Hmm.
of late past year, even to the point where we have rumors of an original Avengers movie to bring all back the OGs. So
Yeah, yeah, it's rough. How about you, Jeff?
So
who just watched it today?
The entire season.
I watched like 4 episodes today. No.
I actually, to be fair, I haven't actually finished the season yet, but here's what
I'm
I
watching
think.
it right now.
You're what? Is it on your other monitor?
Now, just a classic dad trope.
Yeah. So I actually didn't finish it. Um, I did.
Oh, you did.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I mean, that's not totally true.
That's morbid. Are you okay?
Anyway, um, I really enjoyed this season. I felt like there was a lot at stake. There was a sense of urgency to it. Um, one thing I've realized with the help of an article I read, um, Loki Loki has become a very fascinating character study. Um, probably one of the most intriguing character arcs of the MCU. Villain wise and maybe overall character.
Mhm.
Um, especially more than Thor. um, it just feels like he's got a lot more depth. Um, and he's really trying to figure himself out. Like that's and it like in the finale, those final moments, it like it perfectly wrapped up what he had wanted with the cost of something, which we'll get to. Um, yeah, it was fun. I think I'd probably liked it a little bit more than season one.
Yeah, I would say it, well, first
What do you think, Mike?
I feel like it's been a minute since I've seen season 1. That what was season 1
Dude,
out like 2 years ago?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um with that said, I do think season 2 is stronger. And I think a lot of it honestly had to do with like cinematography stuff,
Oh man.
um episode style and tone, and less, I mean, I think like the story was cool and interesting. The acting for the most part was pretty great. But I loved like it felt almost like a True Detective light in the MCU, or like some sort of buddy cop show. I think I
Hmm.
sent this to you, Nick, or put it in Discord somewhere. I don't remember where I sent it, but I sent it somewhere. It's like a better buddy cop show than Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that's like
Oh
Falcon and Winter
yes.
Soldier's like shtick, right? Um,
Yeah.
but like the way Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston played off each other, and their characters' um, relationship and interactions, super awesome. And just some of the camera work, it just had like some very cool, I don't want to say like old timey, but like I guess it's
Like
like 30 years now, but like 90s.
70s.
Some of the transitions and stuff in like episode 2, I think, felt very like 90s Law and Order. Which
Dun,
was
dun.
like 30 years ago, so I guess that is kind of old.
Oh man.
um
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd say overall the season was very strong, and then you have like surprise performances by Obi's actor. I forget who he is, but
Dude.
wasn't he like shoot, I forget. Did Wasn't he like a child actor that made a resurgence here? I feel like that was him. Maybe the dude from Indiana Jones. Um, his character was
Uh
amazing.
yeah.
But I just like really fell in love with Morbius or Mobius. Mobius?
Yeah, Mobius.
Mobius. Why do I keep calling him Morbius? Um,
Because different superhero, different time.
right. But yeah. Um, do we just want to like rip the band-aid off and just talk about the end first and then work our way
Spoiler.
back? We'll
Wow.
do this in classic Loki time hopping fashion and just like
Right.
let's just skip all the way to the end.
I'm slipping.
What do you guys think of how this ended with Loki just grabbing all of the branches and forming the time tree and sitting on the throne there at the end?
Yeah, he had big Atlas vibes. Atlas being the god that holds up the earth on his shoulders. Definitely was channeling out of that. I thought it was cool, and like he uses enchantment skills to like enchant them to be alive and not dead, even though they technically died. Um, no, I thought it was really cool, and I like how like broke through the veil of where the what was that thing called, the giant contraption
The
that
loom.
The loom.
the loom. So when the loom exploded, like just kind of like walked through the veil that was behind, you know, the greater
Yeah.
TVA, and then was in the end of time. Is how I took that, um, or like a space and end of time.
He became the one who remains essentially.
Yeah, all the way
Yeah.
at the end, holding all the lines, all the timelines together. Though I do wonder. It is well, I guess it's all science fantasy fiction, but like physical timelines, like he's literally holding. Does that make him like really, really large? Like, is everything, you know what I mean? Like, entire universes are in these threads.
He's like Galactus.
Yeah. So that was weird to think about, but it was really cool. And I like how they carried over obviously a lot of themes from the first season that weren't a huge focus. But they didn't add a ton, right? Not to overcomplicate it, because it did have a nice kind of beeline, right, toward the intended target. And they did
Mhm.
spend at time what I thought was going to be exhaustive and like repetitive, but it was not, because it was entertaining to watch when they did like the time slipping. Like there were several like episodes that were kind of repetitive, but to a point of necessity.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So it was cool to see him fulfill his glorious purpose, right? Wasn't that the title of the last episode and the quote
Mm-hmm.
from Loki himself?
Yes, sir.
Um, but like since he's holding the timelines, he can't ever leave. So
Right.
effectively, unless someone comes and visits him at the end of time in the MCU, like Hiddleston is done. Like that variant of Loki is there and no it can be nowhere else.
Right. He's
Um,
maintaining that.
which and I think that this is an important thing to note in case anyone's forgotten or overlooked, or maybe I'm in the wrong here, but this character that we follow in these two seasons is a variant because remember, Loki was killed in Endgame by
Yep.
At the beginning
Thanos.
of Endgame.
Yeah,
Yep.
like on the ship. So for me, as I was going through the season here, I was like, I got confused for a second, and I was like, why does he care if the branches are dying? Like the sacred timeline remains. And I'm like, oh, that's right, because he's a variant. He's not on the sacred timeline. So, duh. So yeah, and to go, Jeff, kind of off your point of his arc as a character and whatnot, I'm still kind of like on the fence of how I feel about uh, where he started, where he ended. I feel like I mean, okay, so I have to keep in mind
From
that this is a variant, so it's not the same Loki from the main timeline of the MCU, but
but very similar.
Yeah, but like
A lot of
I
similarities.
feel like the shift from villain to hero is not random, but just like why?
I mean, it's
Like
kind
it
of,
worked, but like why do we got to take a cool villain and then turn him into a hero?
but he wasn't really a
because
full villain by the end. By the time he died in the Sacred Timeline, when Thanos kills him, he's
true.
essentially a hero.
Well, I mean, you think about it, he changed significantly in
Yeah.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, that's true.
So that change for him had already basically started. So, well, but it's crazy too because if you think about it now, where he jumps through that portal in that in the whole time heist thing in
Mhm.
Endgame, he was still very much the Loki that came and caused chaos in New York.
Mhm.
So he didn't change at all. Like
He hadn't gone
he was in the
through
middle of
yeah,
it.
he hadn't gone through Endgame yet and
Right.
Ragnarok and all that. So yeah,
Right.
I see what you're saying.
So like it's it's very it's a complex character arc because we're talking about two different Lokis, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, regardless, it's you've got the same. It is really the same character. He just had his turnaround in a different way. I think it was always meant to happen for him. He
Mm,
just encountered it differently, and it was always meant to happen.
no. Um, you guys have to love Mobius and Loki
Oh,
like as much as I do, right?
they're they're fun. There's so much fun.
I think that's what I'm the most sad about, like of Tom Hiddleston kind of seemingly being done with this character, and this character definitely being like locked into that chair now. Um, that was such a great like duo. Like their
Mhm.
chemistry was great. Uh, Owen Wilson was just like
He's
awesome, like
he really
so
was.
good,
He was fun.
so good.
Their like little banter back and
Yeah,
forth throughout the series as a
dude, he
whole.
was so funny, and like he brought he brought some much needed like good like actual comedic relief from
Yeah,
someone who's
and
like good at delivering comedic relief, you know. His
and
like
it fit.
yeah, his
It fit the
exactly. It didn't feel forced. It felt very natural, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
um
the way Owen Wilson just like sighs through comedy, um, it's just something special. Um,
although I didn't hear a wow once.
Disappointing.
really,
I
no
was
wows.
yeah.
There
Wow.
had to be
That's
one in
a
season one. There had to be one. Wow,
wow. Wow.
wow. Um,
Yeah, but he says it with every breath he takes because that's that like that draw he has, that that air he pulls in right before he speaks all the time. That's the wow in his brain going off.
It's
he
just
might not have said it literally, but he said it
Yeah,
in,
figuratively
in his
in
head.
every line he
he just can't
delivered.
believe people say anything all the time. Like people just talking. He's just like, wow.
Wow. Are people really this dumb?
I also love shout out that he's from Cleveland. Uh, Ski-Doo
Oh yeah,
salesman.
Well, and that was that timeline too, right? It was in Cleveland,
Yeah, yeah,
Cleveland,
dude,
Ohio.
represent. That's twice Cleveland has made it into the MCU. Um,
Whoop.
I forget, was it Civil War that
Yeah.
Baron Zemo was hiding out in Cleveland or something like that? Um,
I don't I don't know if it was actually
I'm just thinking of the deep.
in Avengers. They filmed a scene in Cleveland,
hmm, I
Yeah,
could have sworn there was.
but I don't know if it was
Yeah,
Cleveland.
yeah. Well, someone will have to fact check us. Um,
Don't ask me, Andy.
another amazing character that I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about at first, but I very much grew to love Victor Timely and Jonathan Majors. Hey, he's kind of had a scandal going on of recent time, so of course talking
messing with that
about
sacred timeline.
what's on the screen, not so much what's going on in real life, but dude has some range, and like the He Who Remains of Victor Timely, like polar opposite ends of the spectrum, and I just I loved everything about Victor Timely, like his eccentric scientist self with like the
Stuttering.
crazy stuttering and like speech impediment type issue.
I thought it was funny that the One Who Remains even made fun of him for it.
Yeah. So good. His hair was all crazy.
Yeah, mad scientist.
Yeah, but like also like a sweet like con man too.
Yeah. Well, everyone was after him because
Yeah.
all of his stuff didn't work.
Did
I just
any
love I just love what they did with the handbook. Like that's just so cool.
Yeah.
The way him and OB like co-wrote it. Chicken before the egg complex. It's
Yeah. Trying to get each other's
we'll never know.
autographs in their book.
Dude,
Yeah.
as soon as I
Will you
saw
sign mine?
yeah, exactly. As soon as I saw the name Ouroboros, like the episode name, I believe, all I could think of was like Resident Evil 5, because I'm pretty sure that was the name of the mutated gene or whatever that was going on in that game. But yeah, OB was awesome.
I like the quote when he's like, "Oh, it's kind of like the snake eating its own tail."
Yeah.
I think it was in that moment when they were like,
Yeah,
they met each other and were like talking about it, like you wrote it,
yeah,
and I wrote it.
yeah. I loved. I also loved how most of the time whenever they would ask him some like crazy, super deep, like almost philosophical question about like the time crisis that's going on, he's just like, yeah, I don't know. Or he's like, yeah, we're screwed. Like he didn't like try to like make anything up. He was just like, yeah, that's not
He
gonna
wrote
work.
the handbook. Yeah, he wrote
So
the handbook.
great.
So
He
probably
knows.
on a lot of technical levels, like he
Yeah.
was right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Nick, what stuck out to you in the scope of season 2? Like story wise, maybe implication in the larger MCU, anything like that. Did anything really like kind of stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the time slipping stuff. I thought that was fun. Kind of like Loki going through that, and just the kind of like the meta. And this is the part I thought was gonna be repetitive, but it just worked. Was like him spending centuries learning
yeah.
everything to make it work. Because ultimately, OB was right. Like they fail. Like that, it was all set up for them to fail, and that's the way. He Who Remains had it all designed out. There's just no way to fix it.
Right.
And there's a lot of cool nuance there. Like even to the point where like he was like, it's a fail safe. Like it just wipes all the other timelines and then wipes out the TVA and just have the sacred timeline. So I thought that was all just really cool. How Loki kind of entered this skill, this little slippage, right, between everything, and then constantly would have these conversations with He Who Remains, right, and then just like a battle of the wits. But I guess it helps being a god, and you just have patience for those sorts of things. That's a lot. That's a
Wow.
lot of repeating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, hey, if the fate of your timeline depended on it, you just hit that rewind button as many times as possible. Can I just say one thing about the time slipping? Thought it was cool. Thought visually it looked cool. Audibly, the sound
I like when
engineering
he
was really
tried to
cool.
do it and couldn't.
Yeah. Though if I saw him like flip his hair back one more time after sticking the time slipping landing, I thought I was gonna like punch my TV. I was like, bro.
He's got to fix his hair, man.
That's probably the one thing that annoyed me too. Like,
Oh
dude,
my
you did it
gosh.
all first season. You're doing it
You
again.
get
Like,
it.
we
You got the
cut your freaking
locks.
hair, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what it is. You guys are just mad 'cause he has hair.
Yeah,
Wow, dude.
that's exactly what it
Wow.
is. I wish I could do that every time
Wow.
I enter a room.
Yeah. You guys don't get it 'cause you don't have
If
hair
da-
to flip.
if Dad did that, he probably would like dislocate something in his neck in his old age.
I would. I even tried, and it like cracked something. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do that. That I
Oh,
mean, that was probably the only thing that bothered me.
yeah, same.
Never even noticed once.
What?
There's
He did it like every freaking scene.
and the one episode where he's time slipping like every 30 seconds, every time he lands, he's like,
Yep.
gotta flip that hair.
Well, it's like a tick
I-
though too, because it's how he resets himself because like he's
That's true.
pissed.
I get it.
It's still
But you
lame,
guys notice because you guys can't do it. I'm saying.
Hey, I used to have Loki locks, we'll call them. Jeff
I-
knows. Jeff knows.
I didn't have quite that long. I mean, it was probably like down to my chin or my jaw.
Yeah.
Oh, and I did the hair whip all the time.
Oh yeah.
See?
He did the side to side where Loki does the just straight back.
Back.
But yeah,
Like coming out of water, slow
Yeah.
motion. Every woman's dream, probably.
Yeah, no kidding. So we see, the season ends with Loki on the chair holding the timelines together. I like the visual, like restructuring of the timelines, like in the TVA when it goes back, instead of the loom, being horizontal, it's the vertical and it looks like a tree. I also really thought the like color change to Loki's green was really cool, and all the strands visually looked really cool. But so we have Loki sitting there at the end of time holding everything together. We get an image of Renslayer appearing in like this empty
pyramids.
field. You have the pyramid behind her, then you have the
The
wind blowing.
TVA symbol.
Yeah, so she's in like wherever Loki. I guess that would also be at the end of time, right?
I think that this is
'Cause
where
that's-
Loki was, where he was with all the other variants in
Right.
season
Oh,
So is that
yeah.
like some kind of time
Where the
limbo,
big-
or was that like the end
It's
of
got to
time?
be. I think it's more of a limbo
Is I
because there was that big monster.
That's right. And Mobius comes and like
guarding it.
saves him or whatever.
Yeah.
it's where
I
all
think that's where it was.
it's where all the people get like it's where it happens to you after you exit a timeline. It's like where you go to get ultimately destroyed. It's almost like the trash bin of like because every time because
The trash.
didn't they get there by with the the
They get
the
pruned?
vaporizer sticks? Yeah, the pruning
Oh, okay,
sticks.
okay.
So I think that's how
Um,
they get there and what the purpose of that place is. And you can survive there if you can avoid.
Right. The purpley monster thingy.
Yeah.
Which
So
they did not
and
show.
and we don't see Renslayer, dying or anything there, but she's there, and we see the glow
where
of
she's
that creature again. Victor, I guess he's out of the picture.
A lot of female plot
but
armor.
what happens? Yeah, right. What happens to he who remains? He doesn't
He's
seem
gone.
to remain anymore.
He died.
He's dead. He's dead.
So when Loki goes back the final time, he lets Sylvie kill him, and then he goes and grabs all of the
Yeah.
strands of time, because we don't really
he
see
walks
that.
away from that. He walks away from that moment and doesn't interfere with it anymore.
Well, he does.
goes
Well,
back
he's not
to-
even in that moment anymore. He goes back to the place where he assembled the team of original variants or extra variants or whatever. And then he has that conversation with Sylvie where he's like, you don't have to do this. And she's like, well, you're going to have to kill me. And he's like, well, I just don't want to. And then she's like, okay. And then he goes and grabs all the timelines, right? So I guess it's assumed she then ends up killing He Who Remains.
She still, that stays the way it was. He
Yeah,
just goes back to where the loom is and does what he wants to do.
yeah. I mean, I think of it like this: is in the whole linear of things, he died, right? And that's through all of season 2. He's dead because she killed him back in season 1.
Yeah.
But according to his design, Loki would always come back to that point at the end of time and have that eternal conversation where, he just can't win. So like that was what He Who Remains was banking on, was that was always going to be the outcome. So regardless if he died or not in that moment with Sylvie, Loki would still come back to him at the end of time. So Loki was just then not going to rectify that situation at all. There's nothing for him to do there. Just leave it at what happened. And then he was like, I'm just going to go do the thing, grabs all the timelines. Because that was
But
an
wouldn't he have seen
alternative
that
option.
too?
Him?
The He Who Remains, wouldn't he have seen that?
I don't think
outcome too?
so. I don't think so
Because
because he
Loki
was
says
banking
something
on
about rewriting the formula,
Oh, that's
in
right.
essence, meaning changing up, the predicted outcome.
because He Who Remains was basically his design was around that loom.
Yeah.
So even when the loom blows up, everything gets pruned back to the sacred timeline. So it was just like a continuous loop where, if you destroyed the loom, he wins. If you leave the loom, he
He
wins.
also wins. Yeah.
So the trick there, Loki realizes that he will just replace the loom, destroy the loom,
Yeah.
but don't let everything prune.
Die.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, how do you feel about the mechanics of that? Like,
Of I
of
don't know
him just
how I
like
feel.
walking out and grabbing these timelines
Not being affected
that
and
yeah.
turning into spaghetti.
Yeah, so why didn't he just go out in the in the gangplank or, whatever, the walk out there any other time and just do what needed to be done?
I would say it was a change in perception of himself, because he was just very much with the crew before and didn't understand his power. But I feel like he emerged. He like went Super Saiyan, um, and walked out there
Hmm,
because he knew it would work, kind of thing.
Well,
interesting.
that goes back to his arc. Like it was a sacrificial move on his part where he wouldn't have done before that moment. He had to get there, and at this time, he was willing to do it.
And
Well,
just realized
also,
that he would not
And he was,
unwind and
and he was
melt
a
into
variant
spaghetti
also.
noodles.
but also, I think the radiation was from the loom attempting to contain the timelines. So once the loom exploded and he walked out there,
Hmm.
like the radiation, like solar flares were done because all of that intensity from the loom trying to contain everything was gone because everything was just limp and out in limbo, dead.
But as a god though,
That too.
Would it matter?
I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think. I mean, he basically did wardrobe change. Okay, here I am. I'm Loki. I'm gonna own this,
Hmm.
and he did.
But
Sure, he could have done it the whole time, but that's not where his mindset was.
Yeah, that's true. He was just one of the guys, right? Just hang out with
right,
Mobius,
yeah, because he kind of
eating
just
pie in the
accepted.
break room.
Yeah, she got so mad at him about the pie
She
eating,
was so mad.
but
You
maybe
want to
that's
go eat
one
a
thing.
pie?
That's one issue I think I have with every time they would be like, we can't prune timelines because those are people's lives. But like,
You have been for how long
you have been for
already?
how long? Clearly, it's
Yeah.
a function of everything. You can't save everything, but also, if I don't know, the way I feel about alternates,
Here comes Nick's a fan of genocide.
no, like at
Thanos
one
2.0.
Yep.
at his is well, at one point in time there was only one timeline. So when people started messing with time, that started splitting time. So it's a complete like bastardization of time
Was that
in the first place. Like there aren't supposed to be multiple timelines. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
It
Well,
all
and
started
also
from
so?
I
Who
think
started that?
I
Was
th-
it Loki?
started what?
the branching of timelines.
I would say anyone who was clever enough to traverse time.
Yeah.
That's who, and
Which
create variants.
the time stone has been in existence for how long? So I'm assuming, using the time stone like probably played a part in that too. Um, but I mean, like in theory, right? The TVA was only pruning people or timelines that like royally messed up, right? It's not like they were just like, oh yeah, let's just take out this timeline. We're
Let's
at
just kill all
30
these people.
timelines. We can't have 31 timelines. It's like no, we're pruning. I say theoretically because ideally that's what their purpose was, but of course it kind of morphed and changed. But um, like this guy's gonna like if he does this thing, like there's gonna be a mass genocide of like millions of people. So they go and prune them, or et cetera, et cetera.
But they're not valid people.
Right. Yeah.
They're not real. They're not
That's what I
actual
mean. They're
people.
variants. Like there's one there at one point there was one singular timeline. So what's the justification for saying all these timelines must exist?
Yeah.
But they're still people. They're still human beings. It's not like they're fake. They're just extensions
They're
of the
just not
same.
the important version.
They're not the.
I'm just kidding. I'm so glad I have my camera off right now.
So you didn't ask me.
I didn't, but please tell me what you think.
Well, about the season as a whole.
Oh, we're going way back.
Well, you never asked me, so I wanted to give my thoughts on what I got out of the series.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I guess.
I mean, I don't have to.
I guess we'll just.
It's gonna be a
we'll just
mediocre
slip-
response
We'll just
anyway.
slip back in time.
The sassy dad.
That's what we do.
It's very, very on point for this episode, actually. So let's do it.
What? I would say, other than besides what Nick shared, and other than Loki's arc, because I feel like they did a really good job with all of that. I would say the visuals were incredible. When he was time slipping, just his like being stretched and like mangled.
Very cool.
Mobius's comment to that: it looks like you're being born and dying at the same time.
Yeah.
They're in the elevator, and he's like, "What do you think?" And the person just in the corner like, "I got nothing to say."
Yeah.
It looks that bad. Yeah. That was really cool. I kind of feel like that some days when I wake up, getting older, just kind of like being ripped apart, and being reassembled.
How did you feel about the spaghetti
I
unwinding? At first, I
thought
wasn't
that
like
was
a big fan of it, but it kind of grew on me.
Especially once they slowed
really
it down, you could see like the skull and everything. It was like all the layers of flesh and everything. I was like, okay, that's way more detailed than I thought the first time.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah, it looked cool. Like I said, the visuals were really, really well done. Even Miss Minutes, she was fun. When she turns into that big monster,
Yeah.
and like asking Victor why she didn't love her or want to be with her. She was like going into the mannequin.
Yeah, cringy.
It was cringy. But no, there was a lot about this show that I liked.
Yeah.
Probably more so than any other Marvel show I've seen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would. Where would you guys rank this in terms of all of the not just Marvel series, but like Dad was saying,
Overall,
like
Marvel.
seasons of Marvel series? Would you say this is the best season of a Marvel show that we've gotten so far?
Marvel shows.
So we got Loki
I don't
with
know.
2 seasons, Moon Knight had a season, Falcon and Winter Soldier had a season, WandaVision had 2 seasons, I
One.
believe, one
One.
season.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye had one.
Oh man, Dad, you answer
I would
first.
I would say it's probably the best. I mean, WandaVision for me is a close second.
I
That was
really
a
like
very good one.
WandaVision.
I really liked the
That
WandaVision.
one was great because it was so different from anything that we had gotten in the MCU.
And very clever,
Yeah, it
like,
was
and
really
how
good.
it was told.
It was really good. While Nick's thinking, I'll say season 2 of Loki probably the best season of a Marvel show.
I would say for it
And
being the second season, especially continuing momentum off the first, definitely. Uh, it was just really fun to watch, and just has a lot of good energy. And also, maybe what's missing from a lot of the current phase stuff is like a definitive direction and meaning, right? Because
mhm,
you
mhm,
felt
mhm,
like you
mhm.
felt like you were driving somewhere. There's kind of like an end, if you will, the end of time, literally, that you're fighting for, as well as like Loki's arc too, like resolution. So like, I also didn't feel like they were gonna leave me hanging at the end of this. Like somehow it just felt like the way they drove it was like it's gonna end, right? And it's like they can't do this forever. Like they can't have him time slipping for another season, right? So
And thankfully, we got all of that in a montage.
yeah. Um
Right.
so yeah, I would say overall, I mean, especially even for like what it does during a dire time in the MCU,
Yeah.
it's definitely like it's a bright spot by far.
I I was gonna say it was obviously unintentional, but the way that they were trying to fix things in the show and how everything was just turning into spaghetti is kind of like Marvel's current state. Trying to
Ouch. Oh, I
yeah.
forgot. She-Hulk also was a show.
What? I
Yeah. Speaking of spaghetti, that was a terrible show.
spaghetti.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would agree with that. It had a very solid, um, on the rails story, um, and I thought they handled like the time travel stuff pretty well.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed the the interactions of Loki with himself throughout the episodes, with his past and future selves. I thought those were really, really cool and handled well. Um, like, didn't he call himself on the phone there when Sylvie opens the elevator door? Or is that somebody else calling the phone and then Loki actually prunes himself as
Yeah.
Sylvie opens the door?
Yeah.
And then,
Which was go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say because that was kind of a like up in the air thing,
Yeah.
like for a while. Like, well, what happened? How did he get pruned? He didn't have a stick, and then they paid it off
Yeah.
in the end, which was nice.
And then there in the I think second to last episode where he's like looking at the handbook and he's like coming off the elevator or down the hall and he's like says hey or something and
Yeah.
gets his own attention. um,
Yeah,
I think those are pretty neat. And
cool little
yeah,
details. Yeah,
sometimes time travel stuff can be mishandled in shows and movies. I thought they did a decent job. I would say I wasn't like a huge fan of the directions they took the Miss Minutes thing. Like I liked the
it
Renslayer and
was
Miss Minutes like trying to get Victor Timely and then kind of like competing over him. But like then the way that it all went down, I was just like, you couldn't have thought of like a more interesting like reason for Miss Minutes to like be so interested.
Right.
I'm glad that went nowhere and ended and had nothing to do
Yes.
with the end.
Oh,
And
thank
she just got a
goodness.
reboot, and
Yeah.
she was done.
And once again, like she's not gonna like just try to kill us all again, right? I don't know.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
actually the main villain of Phase 5. Miss Minutes.
This minutes. It's not King.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw it was just the headline, and it was a good headline because I already knew what the article was about and didn't have to read it. And it was like Loki season 2. Obviously, had a picture of he who must, he who remains. Like they, Loki season 2 just might have fixed their big baddie problem. I kind of feel like, yeah, like easy out there, no big deal, just a mild diversion. Really Loki related, nothing else related.
Yeah.
Anytime anyone uses the word diversion, I immediately think of Moana and the giant crab when she's got the algae and he's like, "Oh, it's just algae, a diversion." Sorry,
Oh,
go look it up. It's great.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't. Not that
I
not that in depth with that movie.
So,
I only think of the song that he sings
Yeah,
it's a
that's
great
it.
one.
about being shiny.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So where were we going with
Uh,
that before I derailed that whole thought?
this will be edited out.
What was I talking about? I have no idea anymore. You went to Moana, and
Diversion
my brain just went blank.
to spaghetti.
Absolute spaghetti.
Yes, diversion. Speaking of spaghetti, while you rack your brain,
I'm
and the
not.
visuals, I loved the scene where Sylvie's in the music store. She puts on the album
Oh,
in the
that
back,
was
and then everything turns to spaghetti around her. That scene was so rad. Also,
yeah,
felt really bad for the dude behind the counter.
yeah.
Just turned into time spaghetti. Um, but no, Nick, you were talking about the MCU fixing its big bad problem.
Oh yeah, like so now. I mean, if they choose not to go that direction, and he's gone, um, are they just gonna, risk really 4 years of limbo content where it's just like we're just gonna tell random stories and they had such a connected universe that they were like, you know what, let's just completely just not connect anything and just make shows at random. That really kind of is what it feels like at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice because they made the comment that he's still out there.
His variants.
Yeah, like he could become a problem, like or his variants could be a problem,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like the Kang Dynasty. Um, but like it's not. I didn't feel like it was because I was kind of wondering that too. Like, how are they going to deal with their actor problem?
What is the problem with the actor? Going to jail or something?
I don't know. I just know that he's a troublemaker.
Oh,
Eh,
like the party?
I don't remember the specifics, but something
He
about
likes to beat
females
women or something.
and
Hmm.
him allegedly. um, always got to use that word. So yeah, we'll see what comes of that.
Classic Hollywood.
But it's funny you say that, Nick, because I feel like, by the way, Secret Invasion, another Marvel show that was kind of cheeks.
I watched
Not
I
even
watched
on the.
episode 1. I'm interested to see what's so ass about it.
Hmm. It's just
You finish. You finish it and get back to
it's
us on
just
that.
very mid.
No, it's less than mid.
Worse than Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yes,
That show
it is.
honestly like wasn't that bad compared to a lot of the stuff that we've gotten recently
Oh,
from Marvel.
okay, Mike. Worse than She-Hulk?
Secret Invasion?
Yeah.
Nah. She-Hulk is
Okay.
pretty bad.
Okay.
Um
I refuse to watch She-Hulk. I will not watch it.
I
If
mean, it
someone could tell me
was
how it connects to everything, I might entertain it. I know
It
Secret
has
Invasion has potential to connect to stuff because it's the whole
yeah.
half the
It,
point of
but
it. But
yeah,
that's a huge story.
that's kind of where I was going though. Is I feel like now, with the exception of She-Hulk, everything is so connected. And early on in the MCU, what made it so great was really the connections were only coming in like post-credit scenes.
Right.
And then
I see what you're
Avengers
saying.
happened, and then you'd have like an occasional appearance from another hero helping
Well,
another hero solve that problem. And then, it wasn't until like phase 3 maybe that it all started to really build towards, like, intentionally build towards the Thanos thing, like among all of the movies, right? um but now I feel like they try so hard to connect everything that you're losing the spice and flavor of each different hero, each different movie, each different show, uh, and telling their story as opposed to like forcing team ups, cameos, shared storylines because
The
they have this
Marvels.
big interconnected story they're trying to tell, and
yeah, it's
it's
like
making
the
everything
connections are.
suffer now.
Yeah, it's like it's too on the nose now. Before it
Yeah,
was much more passive. But I guess that's the thing though is before and also in hindsight, seeing how it all ends, but being threaded with the nuance of the post credit scene is you had individually great movies, and then these post credit scenes though they tied things together, but had this like very conjunctional direction, right? Because each end credit scene got more specific, more dialed in toward
Sometimes,
Thanos. Sometimes, more and more, but you know,
or more most of the time. Yeah.
at first they connected the heroes together and like
Yeah.
how that was going to play out. And then they would tell you like see more Thor in right to come, but then then they slowly start bringing together toward the Thanos plot line, right? Um, it became more and more apparent where they were going. So like now everything is so like Mike said, so connected that there is no distinct connection. There are so
yeah,
many connections. We
that's so
don't know
true.
what what is the one they want us to care about, right?
Right.
Right.
That they're yeah, they're so connected, but there's no like shared goal.
Right.
They don't have a story they're telling yet. They're
Spaghetti.
just connecting everything. It's
Well,
dude, and even DC use I'm gonna pull from the Flash with sorry if you hear the breeze uh blowing the palm tree
Oh,
leaves.
I live in
I'm
Florida.
oh, the
outside.
palm tree
Yeah.
leaves.
Um, coming at you live from Southwest Florida. But no, what Michael Keaton's Batman uses in the Flash in terms of like explaining the multiverse as like a bowl of spaghetti, and kind of what was happening is they're just like, you know mixing up all the spaghetti and noodles. So that's what they're doing now. Just all of these shows and movies are, it's just a giant bowl of spaghetti, and
So it's
there's no like marinara sauce to like make it a meal. You know what I mean? That was a very on the fly metaphor I just did, so I don't know if it made any sense, but
Two things. The first one is the MCU is the loom is the MCU. They brought all the spaghetti noodles into the center, which was the Thanos arc, and then now
yes,
it's all just like shooting
and
out.
Loki saved it.
Loki saved it,
mm,
but also the there there's no that common connection. The one connection is gone, and it's just all over the place. Like they're just telling separate stories with, like
Yeah.
you said, cameos and team
Yeah,
ups.
with no reason for those to happen yet.
And if they're and the other sad thing is for a solid 2 years, really, really, WandaVision forward, I think they've done good to get a little away from this, but for a solid 2 years of like MCU content, the common thread was a retroactive reference to the dusting, to the snap.
Yeah.
So like our common thread here is we're just telling stories about what happened after the snap. So
Mhm.
we still don't have like a destination that all of this is going toward.
Yeah. It's just, hey, remember that really cool thing we did
This is what
that
happened.
like broke cinema?
Now we're trying to recreate it, and it
Just
sucks.
just remember that, guys. Just remember it.
That's what we're holding on to.
Yeah.
I need a story where people were like, "Oh man, the snap was awesome." It's because it, by time that the 7th, 10th time that they had the scene where like, "Oh, the snap, it really, blah blah blah, everything was horrible." Like we get it, we got it. Pretty sure we all got the first time.
Yeah.
It's pretty devastating the first time. Let's
Yeah.
keep revisiting it.
Yeah.
It was cool in was it Hawkeye? Who Some of those early revisits on the snap were cool. I will say that.
Yeah.
Well,
But it
it
did
was
get
fresh.
yeah. But then it got kind of because once you realize like, oh, is this the only thing they're going to talk about every series?
Let's just beat a dead horse, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the direction of the MCU right now?
Dude, I don't know because
Spaghetti.
spaghetti needs to go back into the kitchen apparently. No, my intake of MCU stuff in phase 5, which we're in phase 5, right? Yeah.
Not phase
Yeah.
6 yet.
I think we're still in 5.
The only movies I've seen were the Spider-Man movies, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very, very far behind on my Marvel movies.
You saw
and
Guardians.
I did see Guardians
I think that was
3.
phase.
Uh,
I
Spider-Man
should watch
2
that.
was technically post Endgame, and then the third Spider-Man, obviously.
Doctor
So
Strange.
I have not seen Multiverse of Madness, no. But I've seen all of the shows. So I don't know in what direction, if any, the movies are taking the MCU. But even after seeing all of the shows, I also don't know what direction the MCU is going in because there's been so many things teased in the different shows. For a while it was like Mephisto with WandaVision and the Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange and of course Kang was kind of like billed as the
I thought
next
that
big
was.
bad.
I thought that was the next.
And now with what's going on with Jonathan Majors and the way that Loki season 2 ended, it's like, well, he, I guess, could be, but could also not be. So to answer your question, I don't know. I just
What
know
about
that this version of Loki is probably going to remain in that chair. So
But
I guess
yeah,
I don't have an answer.
but even when they first like entertained the idea of Kang being the big bad, that was quickly followed up with Loki season 1, um, where for all intents and purposes, he who remains right is Kang the Conqueror,
Yes.
um, all the way to to the end of time. Thanos was a tangible bad guy, and the MCU heroes were all very tangible superheroes. So when they introduce a character like that, who more or less like the peak of his existence and his skill set is, having these debates with Loki at the end of time, that's the end game battle. You know what I mean? Like it's a very
Yeah.
dialogue brain tricky time heavy concept. So like what's the point? Like
Right.
Loki effectively can handle him. Like the dude knows everything. He
Yeah.
knows all of time. So like what's the threat? Or why would all the other superheroes need to come in there and beat him up?
Yeah. They've given no reason to really fear Kang. Like they've given him no motivation or like
Unless we see an
end
earlier
goal.
version where he's like taking over everything, I guess. But that's the multiversal war.
Yeah, but in this season, it's already
It's
happened.
done.
So what are we gonna
Yeah.
do? Like
So
the
so is
next
that
phase be traveling back in time, even though they've already been a year into Phase 5 and have really done nothing
but what
to that?
was Quantumania?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
When did that
That
take
that
place?
that is Phase 5, but I haven't seen it.
So
They could
in that
address it in that movie. That's a great point. They very well could
No,
have addressed Kang and his goals and motivation in that movie.
because the end credit scene was like just a bunch of him
Did you see
cheering
the
or
movie?
whatnot. No, I just
I think
watched some stuff.
hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think, I thought maybe like I thought that's where they're going with this season where like they were gonna do the good thing and like undo his, control of everything, and then that would just open it up for the cycle to begin over. And we would
Mm-hmm.
see like a variant of Kang doing his thing, being more kind of present and dangerous where
Yeah.
superheroes could fight him. But I guess that's still valid because they're out there. It's just Loki has control of everything. So it kind of resets Kang in that now in the continuum, Kang has not won. Kang won, but that's in the past
Yeah.
So
because
now
he's
he
now
needs to
lost.
win
Because
again.
correct, yeah, he has to
I could see that angle.
re reconfigure how he approaches his victory because Loki is now, I guess, effectively, literally holding all of time.
Yeah, he needs to take the throne back at the end of
So
time.
when he was walking up the steps,
That didn't exist.
right?
And grabbing
I
somehow
didn't
managing to grab multiple timelines in
and
each
give
hand.
life to all of them.
Yeah, it's very weird.
I didn't know what to expect there. I kind of thought that He Who Remains was going to be there,
Yeah,
Mm,
or some version of him, or like maybe a post-credit scene where he shows up and like they have a little
chit
yeah.
chat.
chit chat,
How
and
about
then that would set up that, but
right?
that didn't happen. So I'm just confused.
How about the old like switcheroo where the only post credit scene was like in episode 1?
Yeah,
I know, Mike. You're
Very
like catching those
very
post
odd.
credit scenes, and then I like went through
there's
like past three
Yeah,
episodes. I'm
it's
like,
only
there's only
one.
one, bro.
Yeah.
Psych.
And it wasn't at the finale. So weird.
and it wasn't that big of one.
No, it wasn't. It was
It
just
it
like
wasn't a big deal.
no, and they literally like recapped it in the last week on Loki. Here's the
Right.
post credit scene. At that point, why don't you just put it in the episode? Um, yeah. So I don't know. That's a good point, Nick. I don't know if you were trying to make a point or just making observations, but maybe Kang coming back to kind of reclaim his seat at the end of time, since he has now lost, so now he needs to win again.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Maybe we just explained away like the point of everything.
yeah, which probably, since none of us has seen Quantumania, was
I've seen it.
probably. Oh, have you? Was any of this addressed?
I feel like there was like references to Kang because there was like a broker like character in there who like worked for him, just like
Mm-hmm.
rich people who work for the bad guy kind of theme.
Mm.
Um, but in the quantum realm, very strange movie. Um, but no, I don't remember it being like ever present. Again, it was if there was a Kang reference, it was probably as important as any of the early post credit scene references in like the original like Thanos arc. Nothing too key. Still not telling me where we're going with the story.
Yeah. So it's very much up in the air,
Yeah.
at least from our perspective.
So
Where's Jordan?
I know, right? Our comic expert. He'd been great to have on. But he hates Marvel now, just
He
like
hates everything. Hates Star Wars. Hates Marvel.
women.
Women. Not Christmas. Loves Christmas, Halloween.
Yep.
Basically, if you're a
Legos.
holiday, you're safe.
Yeah. And Lego. I think he likes Lego too.
He does like
He
Lego.
loves Lego.
We like Jordan. We don't hate Jordan.
We
And he
just
doesn't
like giving
really
him a
hate
hard time.
Mm,
women.
He's about to marry one, so I hope he doesn't hate women too
I
much.
thought he already married
true.
her.
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
No, it's December 2nd.
Oh, okay. Well, hey. I guess the truth will be figured out here in a couple weeks.
In his vows, I, Jordan,
Yes.
hate you and all women.
Yes. Sorry, I don't know why I'm here. But no, yeah, let's give like a out of 5 grade for Loki season 2. What
5
would you
out of
give
5.
this? 5 out of 5? Jeff?
4.753.
Yeah, that's on point for you. Yeah, I would say that this gotta hover around a 4.5. There were a few things that annoyed me that just like, man, if we didn't have the hair flips and the cringy
It
like
would have been a
Well, that's what carried it from 4.5 to 5 for me was the hair flips.
5.
but like the cringy Miss Minutes thing, and like I understand what was happening at the end, but I just feel like it's just so weird that he's just like grabbing
Chilling there
all
now?
these strands of time in his hand. Like that, the mechanic of that felt very odd to me, and I was just like, there couldn't have been a better
Can't
way
he
to do
change
this.
his size? Isn't that a thing? Like can't he enlarge himself? Like become taller, bigger? Like he's a god.
He's not Ant-Man, bro.
Huh.
He doesn't have the Pym suit. Just kidding. I don't know. Maybe. It'd been great.
I don't know.
Great question for Jordan.
I mean, I got it. Like, it was a huge turn in his
Scale,
character. Like,
yeah. Also,
he
scale.
was
Huge turn in this character.
Here's the thing, Mike. You got
possibly.
out there in the TVA loom space, let's call it. Like scale and proportion is completely beside the point. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
loom, for all you know, was
It
the
looked,
size of your monitor.
Yeah, of the
but it
the
looked
model
massive.
loom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All the rules go out the window once you step off that little plank way.
That's true.
Clearly.
That's true. But no, I think it's I can't get over the cinematography and small
Oh,
detailed things that I
Mhm.
feel like have been missing from a lot of Marvel things. I just they paid attention to the finer details, which I really appreciated. Solid. We'll give it a 4.75. We'll boost those numbers up a little bit, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. But we're
It is
gonna get
good,
out of
though.
here because I don't know if there's much left to talk about here. Loki season
I
2.
I did want to say one thing.
Sure.
I like the whole like Groundhog Day effect when like he was finishing their sentences and
Yeah.
He's like, just trust me. And he's like, and go quicker.
yeah,
And
yeah,
put on the
go,
suit,
go,
take the thing, and go.
go.
Just fast. Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
The humor was pretty tasteful in this.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
not over the top. It all blended well,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
For real. And I just feel like that all of the cast, like synergy and chemistry, was very, very good.
I do have a question though.
Okay.
Owen Wilson, his character, Mobius.
Yes.
Mhm.
So he retired from the TVA to just observe,
Just to stand there and creepily watch his life pass by.
or like he's gonna Rick and Morty that dude and like kill him, bury him in the backyard. And like that's I was like, is he just gonna stand there until he can murder him and then take his place? Like, what's
Oh my
the
gosh.
setup here?
It's a
I
Mr.
thought
Robot ending.
that's what I mean. I
'Cause
thought he was gonna go back to his timeline, like his actual
He doesn't have a
timeline.
timeline.
He had
yeah, he's
one,
Maybe not. Maybe it got pruned.
right? Can't they always find those things?
I couldn't tell if that was Owen Wilson or Matthew McConaughey that came out there.
But still, to the point, what is he doing? I thought he was going to
I
go
don't know.
live his life,
Yeah,
not just observe some
Would've been-
variant.
would have been great if they kept zooming out and he was like standing next to a hole that he dug. But
Or maybe he meets him, like, and
Yeah.
they just.
and he becomes Mobius's new partner.
Oh, double Owen.
I was just gonna say they'd have their own like communication back and forth, like sighs and wows. Who does it better?
They just eat key lime pie all the time.
I like that.
Joe,
And then
yeah.
Sylvie, she has kind of like an Ahsoka thing going, where is she just gonna be like the wandering force of good chaos in the world?
I can see that.
Yeah, like she totally had an Ahsoka moment, like just standing there next to Luke, like, how's it going? Just gonna stand here? He's like, I'm just gonna stand here for a little bit. Cool, I'll see you around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not actually here, but I'm here.
I hope Mobius returns in some fashion into the MCU. But I guess time will tell. With that note, we're gonna wrap this up. So thank you guys for hanging out. Don't forget to subscribe while you're here. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about season 2 of Loki. Where you think the MCU is as a whole. Did Loki pull it up out of the dumpster, or just your thoughts? That'd be great. Make sure you tune in next week. I believe Nick and Chad will be talking about The Sopranos. Possibly. Nick finally finished it up.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure that'll be a great conversation. We have Pokeboys season 3 out now, and the cat is out of the bag. I've convinced somehow Dad to play a Pokemon game, and now he has no choice but to complete it because he committed to doing a podcast about the game. So
I did. I can't fake my way through that.
yeah, so go check out episode 1. It's out now. And find out if Dad likes Pokemon games now or not.
You'll definitely, by the end of the episode, see me total like glitch out. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a
That was a cool
sight to
reveal.
see. Sight to see.
It's
But
like
yeah,
I'm glitching through time.
check out patreon.com/showboyspodcast for the new and reworked tiers. Sign up if you feel like you want to help support us. That'd be great. But yes, we will see you next week right here at Showboys. Have a great evening.
Peace out.
Yeah. Oh, whoops. Wrong
You're
one.
Cloud.
Wrong one.
You're not Dad.
I
Nick.
am Shiny Klauf.
There you go.
There.